This is an official holiday called National Groundhog Day, and this is the second time of the day where we post every single day, 20 minutes or longer. So enjoy this National Day made by National Day Calendar and more. This is an official day, and this is for entertainment purposes, so don't get mad at me for not getting subscribers. Groundhog Day is a traditional observed regionally in the United States and Canada on February 2nd of every year. It differs from the Pennsylvania Dutch substitution that if a groundhog emerges from its burrow on this day and sees shadow, it will retreat to its den, and winter will go on for 6 more weeks. If it does not see its shadow, spring will arrive early. In 2026, the shadow was seen, arguing 6 more weeks of winter. While the tradition remains popular in the 21st century, studies have found no consistent association between groundhog seeing its shadow and the subsequent arrival time of spring-like weather. The weather lore was brought by from German-speaking areas where the badger is the forecasting animal, while in Hungary, for example, the bear serves the same purpose, and badgers will only watch when bears were not around. It is related to the lore that clear weather on the Christian festival of Candlemas predicts a prolonged winter. The Groundhog Day ceremony held at Pungsu, I don't know how to say it, but in western Pennsylvania, centering on a semi-mythical groundhog named, oh my gosh, has become the most frequently attended ceremony. Groundhog lodges in Pennsylvania Dutch country in the southeastern part of the state observe the occasion as well. Other cities in the United States and Canada also have adopted the event. Now let's go into history. The Pennsylvania Dutch were immigrants from German-speaking areas of Europe. The Germans had a tradition of marking Candlemas, also known as Badger Day, on which if a badger emerging from its den encountered a sunny day, thereby casting a shadow, it heralded 4 more weeks of winter. In Germany, Candlemas is a Western Christian festival observed in the Roman Catholic and Lutheran churches. In folk religion, various traditional superstitions continue to be linked with the holiday, although this was discouraged by the Reformed churches in the 16th century. Notably, several traditions that are part of the weather lore use the weather at Candlemas to predict the start of spring. The weather predicting animal on Candlemas was usually the badger, although regionally the animal was the bear and the fox. The original weather predicting animal in Germany had been the bear, another hibernating mammal. But when they grew scarred, the lore had became alerted. Similar to the groundhog, lore has been noted for the German formula "Sonnensichte," and now I don't know how to pronounce it. And it's made by Germans saying, if the badger sunbathes during Candlemas week, for 4 more weeks, he will be back in his hole. A slight variant is found in a collection of Willow, printed in Austria in 1823. The Pennsylvanians maintain the same tradition as the Germans on Groundhog Day, except that winter spell would be prolonged for 6 weeks instead of 4. For the Pennsylvania Dutch, the badger became the dox, which in Dutch referred to groundhog. The standard term for groundhog was Grox from German Dutch, with the region varied in York County being Gursu, a direct translation of the English name, according to a 19th century book on the dialect. The form was a regional variant according to one 19th century source. However, the weather substitution that begins is oh my gosh, I can't say this. It is given as common to all 14 counties in Dutch Pennsylvania country in a 1915 monograph. You see, guys, I can't make any videos, but I could still try, but there's just some German, so I'm gonna skip all of this. The groundhog was once also known by the obsolete Latin Alas Artemus monax. The genus name signified bear rat. The European mammoth is of the same genus and was formerly called Arcturus alpinus. It was speculated that the European counterpart might have lores similar to the groundhog attached to it. The German version, with the introduction of the badger or other beasts, was an expansion of a similar tradition that if the weather was sunny and clear on Candlemas Day, people expected winter to continue. The similar version is summarized in the English couplet, which is also known as Scots dialect, that runs, if Candlemas is fair and clear, there will be 12 winters in the year, with equivalent phrases in French and German, and the existence of a corresponding Latin couplet that has been suggested as evidence of the great quality of this tradition. School Vice Carpenter in 1946 emphasized that the Bachelor Day tradition was strong in Germany, but absent in the British Isles, and he referred to this as a reason that the U.S. Groundhog Day was not brought by immigrants from these places. There did exist a belief among Roman Catholics in Britain that the hedgehog predicted the length of winter, which is also known as Hedgehog Day, or so it has been claimed, but without demonstration of its age. In a publication by the Scotland-born American journalist Thomas C. Macmillan in 1886, and American writer journalist Samuel Adams Drake's book published in 1900. In the Gaelic calendar of Ireland, Scotland, and the Isles of Man, British Day in February 1st is a day for predicting the weather. While in Scotland, the animal that holds spring on this day is a snake, and on the Isle of Man, a large bird. In Ireland, folklorist Kevin Danner records lore of hedgehogs have been observed for this omen. In Irish folk tradition, St. Bernard's Day, February 1st, it's the first day of spring, and thus of the farmer's year. To see a hedgehog was a good weather sign, for the hedgehog comes out of the hole in which he has been the weather, looks about to judge the weather, and returns to his burrow if the bad weather is about to continue. If he stays out, it means that he knows the mild weather is coming. Additionally, the Roman rite for the goddess Febra has a procession performed on February 2nd, according to Yodel. The Roman calendar, in turn, has Celtic origins. February 2nd concerns with Imbolc, one of the Celtic cross-quarter days, the 4 days which mark the midpoints between solstice and equinox. The observance of Groundhog Day in the United States first occurred in German communities in Pennsylvania, according to known records. The earliest mention of Groundhog Day is an entry on February 2nd, 1840, in the diary of James L. Morris of Morgantown in Pennsylvania, Dutch country. According to the book on the subject by Don Yoder, this was a Welsh enclave, but the diarist was commenting on his neighbors who were of German stock. The first reported news of a Groundhog Day observed was arguably made by the Pennsylvania Spirit newspaper of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania in 1886. Up to the time of going to press, the beast has not seen its shadow. However, it was not until the following year, in 1887, that the first Groundhog Day, considered official, was commemorated there, with a group making the trip to the Gobbler's Knob, part of the town, to console the groundhog. People have gathered annually at the spot for the event ever since. Climate fairs from 1867 to 1942, whose city editor at the Pennsylvania Spirit is created as the father who convinced the idea of Groundhog Day. It has also been suggested that the Pennsylvania or Punxsutawney was where all the Groundhog Day events origin, from where it spread to other parts of the United States and Canada. The Groundhog Day celebrations of the 1880s were carried about by the Punxsutawney Elks Lodge. The Lodge members were the generals of the Groundhog Club formed later, which continued the Groundhog Day tradition. But the Lodge started on being interested in the Groundhog Day as a game animal for food. It had started to serve groundhog at the lodge and had been organizing a hunting party on day each year in late summer. The corn logics gave an are somewhat inconsistent in the literature. The first groundhog picnic was held in 1887, according to one source, but given as posted circa 1889 by the local history in a journal. The historian states that around 1889, the meat was served in the lodge's banquet, and the organized hunt started after that. Either way, the Punxsutawney Groundhog Club was formed in 1899 and continued the hunt and groundhog feast, which took place annually in September. The hunt portion of it became increasingly a realized formality because the practical procurement of meat had to occur well ahead of time for marinating. The flavor has been described as a cross between pork and chicken. A drink called the Groundhog Punch was also served. The hunt and feast did not attract enough outside interest, and the practice was disconnected. The groundhog was not named Phil until 1961, possibly as an indirect reference to Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. The largest Groundhog Day celebration is held in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, where crowds as large as 40,000 gather each year. Nearly 8 times the round population of the town, which is 5,769 as of 2020. The average draw has been of around 2,000 into the 1993 film Groundhog Day, which is set at the festivals in Punxsutawney, after which attendance rose to about 10,000. The official fill is a super centurion, having been the same forecasting since 1887. For the past several years, the event has been live streamed, allowing more people than ever to watch the animal meteorologics. Phil did not see his shadow in which years? 1902, 1933, 1942, 1950, 1970, 1979, 1983, 1986, 1988, 1990, 1995, 1997, blah, 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 all the way to 2020. The ceremony was held behind closed doors for the first time in 2021 due to COVID-19 pandemic restrictions. Phil saw his shadow that year, indicating 6 more weeks of winter. Phil also saw his shadow in 2025 and 2026. Now let's talk about the regional celebrations. The Slumbering Groundhog Lodge, which was formed in 1907, has carried out the ceremonies that take place in Quarryville, Pennsylvania. It used to be a contending rival to Punxsutawney over the Groundhog Day fame. It employs a taxidermic species man, which also known as the stuffed woodchuck. In southeastern Pennsylvania, groundhog lodges, or also known as lodges, celebrate the holiday with firm solemnity. Social events in which food is served, species are made, and or one more guest plays or skits are performed for entertainment. The Pennsylvania German dialect is the only language spoken at the event, and those who speak English pay a penny, usually in the form of a nickel, diamond quarter per word spoken, with the money put into a bowl in the center of the table. In select locations such as Minestown, where Unite is the resident groundhog, if February 2nd lands on a Sunday, the ceremonies are moved to February 1st. Chuckles, a self-proclaimed woodchuck, has been providing the regional weather prognostication in Manchester, Connecticut since 1968 at the Lost Children Museum. According to tradition, Chuckles whispers his prediction into the ear of the town mayor, the only Connecticut public official who speaks Groundhogese, who then announces it to a crowd of citizens and state officials, including the governor. The celebration is traditionally broadcast live by local television station WFSB and participating radio athletes. An analyst of historical weather data and Chuckles' previous predictions reveals he offers a 60% accuracy rate, higher than most other weather predicting animals nationwide. Notably, in 2024, Chuckles predicted an early spring alongside punctuate fields and others, but Winter Storm Bridge follows soon after, permitting the local police department of Guilford, Connecticut, to issue a warrant and dubbing the road and Chuck the Light. In a show of goodwill, Chuckles turned himself in, but his record of previous accuracy and community service allowed him to be released. In Millertown, New Jersey, Millertown Mill was purchased in 2008 in Sunbury, Pennsylvania by Jerry and Kathy Guilford, and lived in a cage in the Guilford's backyard. Mill's first event was at the family business, the Bronson and Guilford Funeral Home, with later events moved to the American Legion Post, with free coffee and donuts served afterwards. Mill died in 2021. The state of New Jersey has prohibited the procurement of a replacement groundhog and seized a groundhog the town has procured from Tennessee because of rabies control laws. Stonewall Jackson predicts at Space Farm Zoo and Museum. Ed, the groundhog and Otis the hedgehog predict at Turtleback Zoo. Malvern Mel is the groundhog of Malvern in Long Island, New York. Mel began his position in 1996. Great Neck Greta of Great Neck, Long Island, New York, predicted in 2020. Quickly after Hampton's resident of the Save the Animals Rescue Foundation predicts at Quag Village Fire Department. Staten Island Chuck is the stage name for the official weather forecasting woodchuck for New York City, housed in the Staten Island Zoo. In 2009, Chuck bid then NYC Mayor Mike Bloomsburg, permitting zoo officials to quietly replace him with his daughter, Charlotte. In 2014, NYC Mayor Bill de Blasio famously dropped Charlotte during the ceremony, visibly disturbing many of the children present for the event. Charlotte's untimely death a week later permitted rumors she was killed by the fall, although the zoo later said this was unlikely to be the cause of Charlotte's demise. As a result, Bill de Blasio did not participate in the tradition thereafter. Dunkirk Day, a stage name for numerous groundhogs that have filled the role since 1960, is the local groundhog for Western New York, handled by Bob Will, a typewriter repairman who runs a rescue shelter for groundhogs. Will is a man that Dunkirk Dave does not actually predict the date of spring, because that is fixed by calendars, but instead predicts the harshness of the remainder of winter. First, an additional groundhog was added in Buffalo in 2014, but this groundhog, Buffalo Bird, is in jest, in order that you always see his shadow. As an inside joke to Buffalo Winters, the Irish pub that hosts the event jokes that Bird concepts prediction of winter give him a 100% accuracy. French Creek Freddy's, West Virginia's resident groundhog meteorologist, a resident of the West Virginia State Wildlife Center in French Creek, West Virginia, Freddy made his debut in 1978 and boasts an accuracy rate of approximately 50%. On Groundhog Day 2022, Freddy predicted 6 more weeks of winter. With the mayor Buck Hannon and members of the community in attendance, in Maryland, Queen City Charlie handled ceremonies in the western part of the state, having succeeded Western Maryland Murray after Murray's June 2021 death. Huntsville held resides at the Huntsville Ecology Site, an animal preserve in Huntsville, New York. He predicts the weather for Suffolk County, New York, in front of hundreds of residents each Groundhog Day. In the Midwest, Sun praised Wisconsin is the self-proclaimed Groundhog capital of the world. This title taking place in response to the Punxsutawney Spirit's 1952 newspaper article describing Sun Prairie as a remote 2-cow village buried somewhere in the wilderness. In 2015, Jimmy the Groundhog bit the ear of Mayor John Friend, and the story quickly went viral worldwide. The next day, a mayoral proclamation absolved Jimmy 11 of any wrongdoing. Buckeye Chuck, Ohio's official state groundhog, is one of the 2 weather-predicting groundhogs. He resides in Maryland, Ohio. Woodstock Willie in Woodstock, Illinois, the shooting location for the 1993 film Groundhog Day. Concord Casimir, while not a groundhog, is a weather-predicting cat whose forecast is based on how he eats his animal purgatory meal. He sits in Concord, Ohio, on the outskirts of Cleveland. In Washington, D.C., the Dumbo Groundhog Day event features Potomac Phil, another taxidermic specimen. From his first appearance to 2012 to 2018, Phil's spring predictions invariably agreed with those of the more lively Punxsutawney Phil, who made his predictions half an hour later or earlier. In addition, Phil always predicts correctly 6 more months of political gridlock. However, after being accused of collusion in 2018, Potomac Phil contracted Punxsutawney Phil in 2019 and further predicted 2 more years of political insanity. Birmingham Bill at Birmingham Zoo was taking a break from prediction in 2015. In Vail, North Carolina, an annual event at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Science, including Sir Walter Raleigh. According to museum officials, Raleigh has been correct 58% of the time versus Punxsutawney Phil's 39%. Sir Walter Raleigh retired after 2022, leaving Snowden Gardner as the only weather-predicting groundhog in the state. Elsewhere in the American South, the General Bill Godley makes prediction from Little Bird, Georgia. The University of Dallas in Irving, Texas has boasted of hosting the 2nd largest groundhog celebration in the world. Aurora, Colorado forecasts with a yellow-bellied mammoth named Stormy Mammoth. Boulder, Colorado celebrates with Flattering Freddy, who makes his appearance in a different manner each year. The Oregon Zoo in Portland has a predicting beaver called Stumptown Phil. Phil predicts through 2 treats placed on logs. Each treat has a piece of paper in front of it with the prediction. The prediction in front of the tree he eats first is to declare his prediction. In Canada, this day is observed with various ceremonies at other locations in North America beyond the United States. In Nova Scotia, Groundhog Day traditions arrived with German foreign Protestant immigrants in the 1750s. Well, it was known as Dax Day, from the German Dax, in the Germany dialect of Lunenburg County settlers. Due to Nova Scotia's Atlantic time zone, the province official groundhogs Shubbenacadie Sam makes the first Groundhog Day prediction in North America, a tradition that Nova Scotia, whatever wildlife park since 1987. So I can't say that because I'm not in German. In French Canada, where the day is known as Jour de la Marmode, Fred la Marmode, or Val des Sports, was the resident forecaster for the province of Quebec from 2009 until its death in 2023. A study also shows that in Quebec, the marmot and groundhog silverlux are regarded as canomas, weather predicting beasts in some scattered spots, but the bear is the more usual animal. Wilton Willie forecasts annually from Wilton, Ontario. Minnesota Merv has been forecasting since the 1990s at Oak Hammock Marsh. Winnipeg Wind has been forecasting since the 2010s at Prairie Wildlife Rehabilitation Central. Wine in 2020 due to COVID-19 and all that stuff. Ballsack Billy is the prayer prognosticator, a man-sized groundhog's mascot who prognosticates weather on Groundhog Day from Ballsack, Alberta. Nanaimo, a ferry port city on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada, present Chubba Marlou and Van Ice Violet, all wild Vancouver Island marmots for forecasters via the Marmot Recovery Foundation. I could see. And I think that's all. But we still have to go. Pungsue Philstatics are kept by the Pennsylvania Groundhog Club, which cares for the animal. Phil has predicted 106 forecasts for winter and 21 for early spring. 1 year, he had a puddle show or shadow in 1947 or 1942. Do I make kind of sense? There were 10 years when Phil's prediction was not recorded, all of which occurred in the late 1880s and 1890s. There has been 1 year when the event was canceled, 1943, due to World War II. Most estimates of Phil's accuracy have given an accuracy lower than would be expected with random chance. Storm Facts Almanac gives Phil an estimate of 39% accuracy. Meteorologist Tim Roach of Weather Underground gives Phil a 36% accuracy rate between 1969 and 2016, a range chosen because local weather data was most reliable from 1969 onward, and a 47% accuracy recorded on that time span when predicting early spring. The National Centers for Environment Information, using a basic metric of above normal temperatures for early spring and below normal temperatures for more winter, placed Pungsue Phil accuracy at 40% for the 10-year period preceding 2019. The Farmer's Almanac, which itself has been known for forecasters of questionable accuracy, gives an assessment of exactly 50% accuracy. The National Geographic Society reports a 28% success rate. A Middlebrook College team found that Phil, long-term analyst of temperature high-low predictions was 70% accuracy or accurate. Although when the groundhog predicted early spring, it was usually wrong. Canadian meteorologist Sandy Day has been established or estimated that Nova Schmidt, I don't know how to say that, but I can see Sam has an accuracy rate of about 40% compared to 25% for Wilton Willie in Ontario. A 2021 study by Lakehead Anniversary climatologists compared 530 predictions by 33 weather predicting groundhogs to be the beginning of spring weather. It used the locally record blossom of the spring wallflower, Caroline spring beauty, as an indicator of the arrival of spring weather. The study concluded that groundhog predictions are pure chance, with an accuracy rate of 50%. Punctuated was scored at an accuracy of 52%, with Ontario's Wharton Willie at 54% and 65% for Nova Scotia's Sam, all below 75% score, regarded as reliable by the study. A high reliability rate was achieved by only two groundhogs, Oil Spring Olai in Oil Spring, Ontario, and in Essex, Connecticut. Several noted groundhogs were wrong over 70% of the time, including Buckeye Chuck in Marion, Ohio, Dunkirk Dave in Dunkirk, New York, and Holland Huckleberry in Holland, Ohio. Part of the problem with pinning down. An accuracy rate for the groundhog is that one consists an early spring is not clearly defined. Assessments of the accuracy of other groundhogs, such as state-line Chuck, use an objective formula. In Chuck's case, a measure of days that reach 40 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 degrees Celsius in New York City between Groundhog Day and the March equinox. Another challenge has been the haphazard nature of Groundhog Day record keeping, making it difficult to find reliable historical prognosticators. The situation has improved in recent years, as Groundhog Day prediction data is now available in a machine-readable format similar to weather data. Prediction, this is fused to scientific evolution. Prediction based on an animal's behavior used to gather more present in the past when stores of food became scarce as winter progressed. One theory states that the groundhog naturally comes out of hibernation in central Pennsylvania in early February because of the increasing average temperature. Under this theory, if German settlement had been sent further north, Groundhog Day would take place at a later date. However, the observed behavior of groundhogs in central New Jersey was that they mostly come out of their burrows in mid-March, regardless of Groundhog Day weather. In Croatia and Serbia, Orthodox Christians have a tradition that on February 2nd, Candlemas, or February 15th, the meeting of the Lord, the bear will awaken from winter democracy, and if its seed meets its own shadow in the sleepy and confused state, it will get scared and go back to sleep for additional 40 days, thus prolonging the winter. Thus, if it is sunny and stretched, or also known as Shridench, that's not how you say it, but it is a sign that the winter is not over yet. If it's cloudy, it's a good sign that the winter is about to end. Similarly, in Germany, on the 27th of June, recognized the 7th Sleeper's Day. If it rains that day, the rest of the summer is supposedly going to be raining. As well in the United Kingdom, July 5th is also July 15th is also known as Saint Swithin's Day. It was traditionally believed that if it rained on that day, it would rain for the next 40 days and nights. Also, in Catalonia, Candlemas was traditionally identified in mountain areas of cattle known as the day that bear awake from hibernation. On Candlemas, the bear leave its den, which I don't know how to say because I'm not German. That's why I told you. The holiday gained more prominence, particularly internationally, with the release of the 1993 comedy film Groundhog Day with Bill Murray and Andy McDowell. The film became the 13th highest grossing of the year, with over $70 million at the box office. Over time, the film became a cult classic and significantly increased awareness and attendance at Groundhog Day events. The holiday's origins also played a prominent role in the 1979 Rankin Bass holiday special Jack Frost. Groundhog Day progenitor, pardons me, Pete's shadow is multiplied by Jack Frost to buy more time to use his winter magic to buy more time to use his wintering magic to protect January Junction from the villain. Over the years, since there has become a public agreement between the two to give Jack more time for wintering fun in exchange for Pete getting extra ammunition too, or time.